right, what's up? Who do we have here?
I'm Carolina.
Carolina, nice to meet you. And actually, interesting enough, where are you from?
I'm from London.
I'm gonna act like I don't know anything.
Yeah, I am from London.
Yeah, isn't that dope? So, what brought you here?
I just go to Brown. I go to school here.
Okay,
so
and you
education. I study biology and religious studies.
Okay,
Nice.
and so the people who know me and see watching this, they already know. They already know, like, this is gonna be a dope freaking interview. So what made you get into religious studies? Are you like religious or spiritual yourself? Like, what kind of led you towards that?
I was raised Catholic, but I wouldn't say I'm like institutionally religious. I would say I'm like in the pop culture since I'm like spiritual. I guess I have my own understanding, like informed by a lot of stuff. But I got into religious studies because I felt like I knew I wanted to do some humanities. Like I know I just couldn't do STEM. Like I love bio and like, but I feel like bio and religion, like they're both interested in life ultimately, but they're just asking really different questions to get there. So I guess like the overlap between those.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's dope. I think this is probably gonna turn more into discussion. Like now that you got me thinking about it, because like biology, right?
Yeah.
Biology is pretty much the study of like the physical, right, and what's here. And then so I think like the more what's as prevalent as that, right? In the opposite, and I think that would be the spiritual.
Right? I see what you're saying.
And so I think that's like a really, I never thought of someone to do both, because usually when you see like religious studies, it's like so away from science.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do science, whatever, even in science, whether it is biology or anything else, like that's like so far away. But oh my gosh.
No, that's so real. That duality is like so interesting.
You know what I mean? That is a crazy duality.
Because also like religion being like this like airy, abstract, like spiritual thing, like needs a body in itself, which like you could represent through life, through biology. You could make that connection. And also like science as an institution like can be classified as religious, I would argue. Like
there's Scientology, right?
Well, yes, but I'm thinking more like, I think it's called like scientific materialism. It's like the belief that science will tell us everything we need to know, which is like science, like it's done us like a lot of good, but it's still a technically subjective framework that we all agree on to be objective. Like science is just like you question the universe and like the nature around you based on your own parameters, which are like inherently subjective. Yeah.
Well, I think like a good way to say what science is just an attempt to explain the spiritual. And an attempt to explain God, right? Essentially. Because would you say like everything here was created by God or a God? Or?
I'm not sure if I believe in like the entity of a God in that sense per se. I think I believe in like godliness, like pockets of divinity, and I think places can be made to have like godly presence, but I wouldn't believe in like an original creator. Like I don't think there's like a being which created things. I think things emerge like by themselves, who knows how,
so
would divinity comes from that.
Yeah,
and that in itself I think could be classified as divine.
Okay. And so you would say, because go back to your point where it's like you can't have faith in science, right? I think everyone has faith in something.
I think we should have faith in science in some way, but it doesn't mean we can't critique it and try to amend it. Right.
I think, science is kind of almost changing all the time, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's always new discoveries that like, oh crap, we were wrong about this.
Exactly, like all this stuff everywhere.
Yeah, so I think I'm curious on if you don't really have, it seems like you don't have faith in like, say someone was Christian, they had faith in God and Jesus.
Yeah.
Like you say you wouldn't have faith in something that concrete. It kind of seems more open-ended for you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Not just like a collective. So, with that being said, like even with bringing science into it, wouldn't you like? What's your thoughts on even just the positioning of the sun and the Earth, right?
Right. I see
how minute if that was just off just a tad.
Yeah.
So saying like how specific that is and how specifically that was created. Do you think something like that could be of chance?
I think things flow towards places which like are themselves like super creative and resonant, and like it's, I think, like opportunistic for things to flow to a place in which a lot can emerge. So like the fact that life emerges in this like perfect space in like the universe, like I don't know like if I can chalk it all up to chance, but I have like no real answer for that. I think like the existence of that maybe wasn't like ordained by some like consciousness, but the fact that it exists, like that's like a kind of divinity to me, and I feel like that's maybe all it needs to be.
So what if I were to say like that in its nature, right, and then us too, where we perceive everything around us to be rational because, or not everything, right?
But rationality is just another tool.
I would say our brains are rational, right? Like the fact that
it can be,
right? Or it can't, unless you're psychotic or whatever. Then maybe not. But the natural human, I would say me and you and my buddy Nolan here. Sometimes like we are rational beings, right? And so, say in that process, right? I know it's follow me. So
no, I'm done.
So say like we're rational beings, right? A good man named Cliff Stewart. I get this from him.
Cliff Stewart.
Yeah, you know him?
I don't think so.
Oh, you would love him.
Okay.
Maybe, actually, I don't know.
Well, I'll check him out.
All right, you check him out. He does stuff like what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
But Cliff. Oh shoot, my bad.
Cliff and Stewart.
Yeah, his son is named Stewart, but it's Cliff and Stewart, and they're Connectly. Cliff Connectly. Cliff and Stewart Connectly. But so I say like right, like we have rational minds. And you kind of can like trace all of it back. Like rationality comes from rationality, right? Rational doesn't come from irrational. Would you say that? So like this is like technically this is irrational. Like this doesn't have a rational mind. You know what I mean? Or even like
so
everything.
You're relating rationality to consciousness?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think I fully agree with that.
Help me understand that.
I think rationality, and if let me know if I'm like understanding you correctly.
Okay.
Rationality is like a logical like tool, like it's like logic, right? Like are you talking about logic, like or are you talking about like an ability to like absorb information and like make sense of it?
I would say logic. Yeah, I think I would say
logic is like, again, super useful, like necessary, like perspective that we definitely need to have in the world, but also like still a perspective. Like I don't think you can rationalize everything. Like you can't logic out everything. I really don't think you can.
You don't think you can?
Because so would you say it's just humans that can be rational? Do you think animals can be rational?
I think we are given this innate ability to be creative and think outside the box. I think animals are designed to act a certain way. They have instinct, right? We have instinct, but we also have the ability to think outside of that instinct. Rather than animals, I believe they're specifically designed to do what they're designed to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Like a bird builds a nest, dolphins freaking jump out in the air, like, you know what I mean? Like they were designed to do that, but we have that choice and that free will to depict whether we're going to go out and have these conversations and create whatever you create on that guitar and continue to grow our minds and understand, and then create buildings and create relationships and create loving and hating relationships. And so I would say, like, for us to have that rationality, right, and to have that understanding and that consciousness.
So you're talking about like a self-consciousness, maybe, like that we are able to like realize that we can do this.
I'm not really. I don't think I can.
I don't think
I don't. I think they can, but I think in a way, I think they're limited though.
Okay.
I think that we were given. I believe that we were given dominion over that, over the sky, over the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, and the beasts on the land.
Okay.
I think we were created for that not specific purpose, but that was one of the things we were created for. And the fact that we can create makes me believe that we had to be created by something that was higher than us. You know what I mean? A higher rationality, meaning like our rational minds or our consciousness couldn't come from anything that was less rational than us.
Why?
I mean, how would that even logically make sense?
Exactly. Not everything can be explained by logic.
Which is why, because of that, I think that it has to be something that has a higher rationality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about like what I'm gonna.
Hold on.
Do you have like a specific question?
So you say that, sorry to butt in, but you said that
please.
not everything can be explained by logic. Do you
don't
have an example of something that can be explained by elsewhere?
I mean, like,
by other means?
I mean, like what you said earlier, like science tries to understand spirituality. Like anything like before it's been like scientifically analyzed is what, like pseudoscience or like supernatural or magic or whatever. Like that stuff is like all sitting in this like box of like, oh, we're just not going to explain that, but it's all still like exists. You can't explain every single thought and action you have. Like you can't rationalize through every thought and emotion.
Right. No, I believe that.
Because like you are not your thoughts and emotions. Like they 100%. Just pass through you.
And so I guess like where I'm trying to get at is, do you think it's like us being here is random, or do you think we were created by God?
I don't think there is randomness.
Okay.
I don't think. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm saying that's like a huge claim to make.
It seems like you're.
I don't think things are random. I think energy like flows repeatedly in similar patterns because it's conducive to flow in those patterns. And I don't know if I could I don't think I could trace it back to like an initial point. I think if we're like tracing it back to like a God created everything, we'd also maybe have to talk about like time as linear, and I don't think time is linear.
Right. So what from scripture? So we're I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Bring in scripture.
We're Bible believers, Jesus worshipers. Like we love Jesus, and God. That's our God, right? And so, well, it's God the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And so, what we believe is that God is omnipotent, which means he exists everywhere and all the time at all times.
Okay.
And so he also exists outside of time, space, and matter. Okay. And so here. I would say it's linear here in this space, but outside of that, I feel like for that to be linear, something had to set it up that way. Something had to ordain that. Something had to put that together. I don't think that, how you're saying kind of like, and forgive me if I'm like not saying it right, but you said how energy just kind of flows and which it does create create itself and destroys itself, right? Energy, right? Which that can't even be explained. I don't think science can explain that.
When you say, technically it can't be created or destroyed. Yeah.
Or it can only
Second law.
Anyways, yes, sorry.
Something like that.
But what I'm saying is like, for that to be even something that does happen, I feel like something has to exist outside of what we know as reality for that to happen. Like, I don't think that could just literally just be there and it was just there. Now that energy is what's creating all of this we see around here and all these experiences and thought processes. Like I think there's something greater in the spiritual.
Okay.
Where it's like, and that is God, and the fact that we have thoughts that are not even our own, I think that's a lot from the enemy, because in Genesis it was taught that Eve ate the apple, and so now we have original sin. So therefore, that's why in my lifetime I struggled with addictions to pornography, weed, just being accepted by people, all sorts of different crazy crap. And I believe that we all have this spiritual hole in our heart that can only be filled by the power of Jesus, by the love of Jesus. And and I think that's like, just by looking at life and looking at all the experiences and even just looking at love, because I think, never mind everything, I think love is so present in everything. Whether you're such a hateful person, you love something. You probably love killing people. You know what I mean? Like, but to get just so extreme, you know what I mean?
No, I see what you're saying.
Like you love being mean to people. Like it's crooked, right? Because the enemy likes to take what God has made for good and twist it. And so that's where I'm getting that from. I used to think that I loved all the stuff I used to do, but it's like I think we all have that for something, and that's so present. And I believe that, for even one of those reasons, and because Jesus rose from the dead is why I believe him, is because that there is something that created that had that put into this world and created the time and the space and the matter so that we could all experience that.
Do you think, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you think that, like, you say God exists outside of space-time and matter. Do you think God can exist within space-time and matter? And, like, to say that more specifically, do you believe God can, like, exist within you? Like, how personal would you feel your relationship with God is?
Oh, very personal.
Super personal.
Super personal, yeah.
And that space that God is filling, do you think like someone else who isn't religious could have that exact same space like filled in the same way, but just call it by a completely different name?
I believe that that's a very good question.
That's a great question.
That's a very beautiful question. I think that I think that I believe that God created the earth, and that there are experiences here for us all to experience. And I think a lot of us can experience those very real experiences given by God, but confuse it for something else. And I think that's where the love of God comes, because he sees everyone as his child, and so that they can receive that love and receive that grace. But when time comes to death, you either have seen, I think that he'll let everyone see, you know, there's people who on this earth who won't hear about Jesus and die. I believe they will go to heaven, because my God is a just God, and I believe that to be just. You know, I can't say that that's true or that's fact, but that's what I believe. But I also believe that there's a lot of people on this earth who will be thinking that these other things are filling their heart, but they'll be shown the truth and they either accept it or not. I mean, you know, an interesting thing too is all these other religions, especially the main ones, they all mention Jesus and they all have a high respect for Jesus as well. They just don't recognize him as the Messiah for whatever reason. But the reason I believe that Christianity is the true thing is because of that love that I was talking about.
So would you say that God and love are separate then? That love comes from God? Like you wouldn't equate them as the same thing?
Well, I think God chose to make us in a loving choice. So therefore that choice is now in our hearts.
So you would say the love is a relationship. Would you say God is a relationship?
We can have a relationship with God.
You can have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I think I may be more of the mind that like godliness is like the space in between and like
in between
everything.
Okay.
And like that like ultimate
so you'd
connection,
say he's
like
omnipotent. Or if you would say from your perspective God is, because omnipotent is everywhere, always, all powerful, right?
Yeah. I think maybe that also we'd have to talk about like what it means to be omnipotent and like how, like what power is and like what it means to have power.
That's interesting. Yeah. What is power?
Like, do you think power is like a form of like oppression and subversion? Like, does that include like having power over something?
Oh, okay.
Like, or is power? Well, actually, I don't know. Like, what do you think power is? Like, what does it mean to be omnipotent?
I would say power is, say I created a Lego city. I now have full and complete power to do whatever I want with that city.
Okay.
So like I could destroy it if I want to, or say an ant farm. That's more. That's easier, right? They're alive, right?
Yeah.
And so I have the power to do pretty much whatever they want, whatever I want with them. But they also, I mean, ants are very programmed, right? They kind of have free will in a sense. So it's like I would say power to literally.
Lives, you have dictation.
I could plant a tree in that ant farm or something and water it. Like I have the power to do that. You know, I have the power. It's literally mine and it's in my hands and I can do whatever I want with it.
And you think that power was given to you by God?
No. Because then I would be playing God.
Okay.
I think there can only be one and true power. It says that Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lords of Lords. So therefore, you know, in my life, he is first and I am second in everything I do.
Well, you don't believe that God gave you dictation over ants?
Well, no, he did, but you're saying that he gave me power over this world? Is that what you're saying?
No,
like,
I was just asking. Yeah, like when you say like humans have this like creative space and like ability, like was that you said that was given to you by God?
Yeah, I would say.
Would you say that's like a form of omnipotence? Like I think in that sense, like it's kind of about like perspective and like relationality, because like we are God to ants.
How do you? Yeah, right.
I mean, I define it like based on like I think it's situational. Like I think it's like you can like zoom in or out and it looks similar. Like. But
if you could zoom out, why zoom in?
Because I think at a certain point you reach the same place.
You want to look. Yeah, that's interesting. I think a lot of the stuff that you're saying is scriptural, because at the certain point you reach the same pace. When you say you zoom in, you zoom out, you see the same thing. So it says in the Bible, Jesus changes us from the inside, not from the outside, so that we could see the bigger picture by looking on the inside and seeing that we can change through Him. And there was something that you said that was like something about us being omnipotent, about like being creative and stuff.
Yeah, I think I was asking
you say, I say like we have free will. Oh, I remember. So you said something about having like dominion over like the ants, or maybe you said that. Well, anyways, in the Bible, like in that sense where we have that omnipotent, I wouldn't really define it as that because I think that's like something greater than us. But say in the Bible it says we are given dominion over the land, over the birds in the sky, over the fish in the sea, and the beasts on the land. And so that is our power that we are get. God does say we are given power, but we're giving His power, not power above Him, but power to rule here.
It's His power through you.
Right. But I can't be God and decide.
Right.
Like you can't float.
Yeah, I can't.
Levitate.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Unfortunately,
Not yet.
I've tried it.
Yeah, I've tried it. Yeah. But I would say we're definitely very limited, just like how Jesus limited Himself. God limited Himself and came down to be fully man, fully human. I mean, fully man and fully God, right down with us, and He limited Himself so that He could reconcile that cosmic betrayal that we made in the Garden of Eden. And so it's very interesting. So it seems like you're kind of on the more agnostic side of things.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of just figuring it out, but maybe not even, just kind of living.
Yeah.
That's fair. And so
I make no definitive claims.
Yeah, that's dope. Okay, word. So I think we got our answer on that. Okay. I'm curious too.
Cool.
So what about the music? What are you doing?
Oh, I just started playing guitar like a few months ago.
Oh, really?
I
That's sweet.
Played the violin for like a super long time, like 13 years, and I stopped, and I was like, it was just not fun for me anymore. And I just picked up guitar recently to try to get back into music in a new way.
Yeah, that's dope.
Just like headed to a friend's house.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good with the interview.
Awesome.
But that was.